Hello, I am Davina, and hello to all of you bold, beautiful, brilliant, and evolving souls. Today, I'm going to talk about why healthy habits are so hard. So, I'm going to talk about 5 reasons why these healthy choices are difficult for us as people with CPTSD. And also at the end, I'll share a few ideas. So the number one thing I have here is probably pretty obvious, but yet at the time it can not be. Massive emotional pain and dysregulation. And denial can make us think that things should be easy, and that we should be having an easier time, and why are we struggling? Um, but when we come out of denial, we realize just how much massive emotional pain we're dealing with second by second, moment by moment in our life. And so we are constantly trying to regulate our emotions all day long, right? I'll speak for myself, but I am never regulated. I am never in that window of tolerance. Or if I'm just there, I'm maybe there for a very short time and then I'm swinging over to something else. So it's always like, I'm in freeze and then I'm swinging over to flop and collapse, or I'm in flight and then, so the window of tolerance is that regulated place. So we are constantly regulating our emotions. It is hard. It is tiring. It is really a lot of work. And so what we want to do is something easy, right? We don't want to be doing things that are difficult because our whole day anyway is difficult, is a struggle. Just managing our emotions and of course managing our mental stuff as well that goes along with the emotional pain, is linked to the suffering in our minds. And so we choose things that are easy, and things that tend to be easy are sometimes not healthy, like scrolling on your phone. And I've done this, like scrolling for books. I need a new book to read. But it feels like an addiction, it just feels um, so those kind of things, like anything that's like easy is something we want to do. We don't want to do something that's difficult because everything is already difficult. And so, and as I said, like easy can sometimes not be the healthy choice. And screens are such a big thing for this, I think, because it's so easy just to pick up your phone and whatever, checking social media or whatever. I tried to buy a coloring book, and even that I thought is too difficult. It sits on my desk because I don't want to sit there coloring in the between the lines, So I'm thinking maybe I'll just color on a big piece of blank paper or something. But so yeah, that's the first thing. Um, and of course, we want to repress all of this. I think, sorry, that's in my second part. So number 2 is addiction. And this is also kind of linked to the first one. Addiction is, I think, a couple things here. Number 1, we want to repress all of that emotional pain. It is so massive that we do not want to deal with it. I mean, for decades, I was in addiction, eating disorder, and I was going night clubbing in my 30s every weekend, binge drinking. And so this is, how we end up in addictive behaviors, is just trying to avoid, numb out, and not feel. The other thing about addiction is it comes also from having a narcissistic parent who uses intermittent reinforcement. And because of that, they're 1 minute treating you kind of nice, and the next minute they're abusing you. And so you get that dopamine hit every time, you try to please them, and then they give you a little bit of attention. And so you get that dopamine hit. So you become an addict. And this causes us again to move into addictive behaviors, whether that's drugs, alcohol, or like substances, or whether that's like behavior addictions like shopping, internet scrolling, social media, gambling, pornography, all of those kind of more processed kind of addictions. And this is not to be shamed. This is just what happens when you've been abused and you have you're very, very wounded. So it's important to hold that all with a lot of gentleness and compassion and know that you are coping the best way you can. Number 3 is an impaired executive function. So when we are in when we're in high stress, when we are in the fight, flight, fawn, freeze, flop, all those 5, I have a video on that too, if you want to check that out. But those 5 um, non-regulated, when our nervous system is out of whack and out of balance, we have impaired executive function. And that means all these higher kind of thinking skills are not available to us. So things like self-control and decision-making and goal-directed behaviors are just like kind of mostly gone, if you're just fighting for your life to stay alive, these things go out the window. Um, you're just trying to survive. So yeah, the self-control especially helps us to prioritize, right? Helps us to decide what's important and what's not. And it helps us to resist the impulsive behaviors, those kind of addictive kind of behaviors. And so when we don't have that kind of self-control, and when we don't have like goal-directed behavior, like I know this will be good for me, and this, if I do this and this and this, I can reach this goal, right? We don't have that. So we're just going for the easy and the hit of dopamine and those things that I've already talked about, because we're just not functioning at that higher level. I find this especially true in that collapse mode, in the hypoarousal. And yeah, it can just feel like suddenly I'm a zombie. Like I can't even hardly think. I can function at a very just sort of basic level of doing like basic sort of things that don't require a lot of mental thinking, like cooking. I cook the same foods all the time, so I don't have to think about a recipe or something. So I've simplified. Um, but yeah, so if you're in that collapse mode, again, just be very gentle with yourself and understand that, my brain is not functioning well right now. So no, I can't do um, complex skills. I can't do a complex mental activity right now. I need to keep it simple and do something that's, yeah, easy, but try to do healthy if you can. Try to replace those unhealthy things with a healthier one. Just, I'll talk about that in a minute. And for the shame, the shame not only causes us to do some of these behaviors, like, the addiction and all that stuff, but it also makes us feel bad when we do these things. And so it can be just a cycle, a loop, where we are scrolling on our phone and then we feel bad that we're scrolling on our phone and we're saying, oh, you're such a, that inner critic is going on, blah, blah, blah. How come you can't have more self-control and you're just so lazy, or whatever it's saying to you? And then we feel more bad. And then so we choose another thing that is going to be unhealthy for us, because it just can become a loop. So we might want to self-harm or drink a beer or something now, or drink 3 beers because we're feeling so bad. We're feeling so much shame. So try to like stop that cycle from happening. So just if you find yourself in that, doing something that you don't really would be doing, and half an hour later you're like, oh, why did I do that? Just try to hold yourself with compassion there so that it doesn't continue on. And if you can't, that's okay too. Number 5 is the fawning. So pretty obvious is, we tend to take care of people's needs before our own. And the shame and the terror is a very, very, very powerful force that is driving our these unconscious behaviors, and it's very difficult to control that. It's literally like you're a salmon trying to swim upstream, and your conditioning is pushing you this way. No, 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 you want to fawn, 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 and you're like, no, but I don't want to fawn, and it's like, yes, you do. So it's not funny, but it's kind of a funny example, but so it's extremely powerful, and yeah, so we might choose, say, um, instead of exercising, we might be, oh, I'm going to give some advice to my friend or something, even though maybe I'm not in a place that I can do that or have the mental and emotional, um, kind of bandwidth to be doing that. So we make these choices. Again, it's unconscious. It's very difficult to change these things. It takes a lot of time, a lot of grieving. And I just wanted to share a couple of ideas in terms of how to develop these kind of, and it's everything is a process. Everything takes time. The number one thing that I think has saved me has been the routines and the schedules, so that I just automatically do something. So I'm just like, I get up Saturday morning and I'm doing my food prep and I'm prepping my smoothies and I just do it. I don't think about it. If you have fewer decisions in your life, it's going to be easier because decision making is hard because our executive functioning is not working. So if you make everything sort of like an automatic thing, like at 2 o'clock, I'm doing this thing, we can start to develop healthier habits and just adding like one at a time. You don't have to do everything at once. Like I began this like 10, 11 years ago when I started to like come out of my addictions and start to like, okay, I'm going to eat more protein. I'm going to add an egg today. I'm going to eat an egg and that's going to be an extra thing. I'm going to go, and then you add something else. I'm going to go to bed a little bit earlier. And then you just these things start adding on and they feel good. So they also fuel repeating them because they feel good and they make you feel good. Um, and just, hold all of this with such compassion. So if you come at the end of the day and you're like, oh God, I spent half an hour on Amazon and I spent, you know, an hour looking at my Facebook today and oh man, I did it again. And it can be so painful to be like, just like, I want to stop, but I can't, it's so compelling. So just like set a small intention and just think, okay, tomorrow I'm going to try this. And I might screw it, well, not screw it up because it's not really even a mistake, but I might go back. I might be controlled by the conditioning and controlled by the fear and controlled by the fawning. And I might revert back, and that's okay. You just keep trying and just know that you're doing your best. And the most important thing is to see yourself as a person in pain, a person who's in a tremendous amount of emotional pain. And so it's not like how many gold stars do you get at the end of the day? It's like, um, you're a hurting person who deserves just love, compassion, and just a lot of gentleness and patience, a lot of patience. So, yeah, I hope this was somehow helpful or just plain validating for you today. As always, wishing you many, many blessings on your journey of healing and awakening. And I'm Davina at Boldness Blooming. Thanks always for being here, for watching. I appreciate all of you and wish you well.